I really tried to avoid talking about it because as of late, I feel like I've turned into a goddamn negative bastard and my channel has been all about trashing stupid ass films and TV projects that just seem to be getting progressively worse. But my god, there's just so much shit to talk about. And when woke idiots like Disney Marvel are giving me what seems like infinite material to go on a never-ending rant spree, I thought I might as well become the voice of the voiceless and say what's in most sane people's minds. And speaking of a rant I was trying to avoid, there's Fantastic Four First Steps, which they might as well rename as Fantastic One The Last Steps. A project that had been dubbed Marvel's quote-unquote next big thing, which has now been pretty much accepted as the company's next big flop. But after the latest and final trailer drop, my former feelings towards the project have improved ever so slightly, but I seriously doubt they can undo months of damage caused by stupid PR with one trailer. But let me not start at the end, let's go back to the beginning instead and have a look at Marvel's well-laid and perfectly executed plan for utter and absolute self-destruction. So nearly 6 years ago, on the 20th of July 2019, the not so much awaited but inevitable reboot of the Fantastic Four was announced at San Diego Comic-Con just 4 months after Disney's acquisition of a sinking 20th Century Fox. Avengers Endgame had just finished its earth-shattering run at the box office, breaking every record previously set, and Marvel was basking in its own glory. The MCU had become pretty much unstoppable, and it seemed like everything they were touching was turning into box office gold. And when the project was announced, fans lost their minds. After all, Fantastic Four is Marvel's first family and one of the publisher's oldest and most revered IPs. A few years passed and things changed big time. And so did the creative team behind Fantastic Four. At first, it was director John Watts, the man behind MCU's incredibly successful Spider-Man trilogy, who was supposed to spearhead the project, but due to genre fatigue, Watts decided to walk away from the film, and Matt Shakman was chosen as the replacement. And after that, the writing team and script saw, quite a few changes over the next year, which is a pretty common occurrence in the MCU as of late. But last year, the casting news finally came through, and that's when things started looking, I don't want to say bleak, but kind of weird. Because it was another Hollywood project casting Pedro Pascal. Don't get me wrong, the man's an acting powerhouse. The problem though is that he seems to be everywhere. If there's any kind of a big budget movie or TV show coming out of Hollywood, there's an actual 69.69% chance Pedro's in it. The numbers are solid, you can go check for yourself. And he's usually playing second fiddle to strong female characters in one way or another. And who else was there? Vanessa Kirby, Joseph Quinn, and Ebon Moss-Bachrach. But people were pretty optimistic because the cast was solid. Production kicked off, all wasn't right with the MCU because it was taking one L after another, except Deadpool and Wolverine of course. And finally in February this year, the first promotional poster of the film dropped and it was dog shit. It beats me as to why a billion-dollar juggernaut like Marvel released what seems like an AI-generated first poster. Why? It isn't like there's a lack of talent around them, and with the kind of resources they have, they could have literally hired anyone. They denied using AI, but hey, we all know what it was, so let's not debate upon it. And then the much awaited teaser dropped and it was, it was pretty mid, even tilting towards terrible at times. The exact same stock audio being used again and again, dog shit CGI, and a retro world design that looked pretty unpolished, and the thing's design made him look like he was made out of a pile of dried shit. You could clearly see signs of negligence by Marvel, but people were still ready to give the project a chance. Because it looked like Marvel had gone back to its roots. No more identity politics or sucking up to crowds that aren't even buying the fucking tickets, and an increased focus on the themes of family and heroism. They had to, didn't they? A female Silver Surfer? Like, why? For all we know, it could be a brilliantly written and portrayed character, but the timing, my god, it could not have been worse. I'm not against casting a woman for the role of the Surfer. And yeah, I know about Norrin Rath's love interest in the comics, who's the Surfer in this timeline. But after all the agenda-based BS they've tried to push on the audiences in the last half decade, they don't have nearly the kind of goodwill required to do this right now, and yet They did. And as if this wasn't enough, they did the one thing which took away from the little faith the audiences had in one fell swoop. In April this year, Vanessa Kirby and Joseph Quinn gave the classic modern MCU interview. Yeah, that kind of an interview. Yup. So apparently they were speaking to Kevin Feige and they came about a revelation that the old iterations of their characters were outdated.
What a Greek tragedy, honey! Oh my god!
How did we not figure that out? Oh, Joseph and Vanessa, you guys should have been scientists. So what did they do? They came up with the revolutionary idea of updating their characters so that they are apt for the modern audiences. The same people who aren't even buying the fucking tickets. So Joseph Quinn thinks that Johnny Storm's womanizing ways and devil may care attitude isn't right and that it's not cool or sexy anymore. But someone tell Joseph that that's Johnny's whole fucking character. What's next? Let's make Batman sleep early cause sleeping late isn't cool? You gotta be fucking kidding me. So these people think that they can take away the main character traits of beloved superheroes and that's what will make audiences buy the tickets? Well, we've tried that before, haven't we? How'd that work out for you? Exactly. And Vanessa thinks that if they try to take too much inspiration from the original iteration of Sue Storm, she might feel like a bit of a doormat for Reed Richards. Isn't that right? I mean, after all, the only thing that Invisible Woman wants to do is to be seen. So let's turn her into Mary Sue Storm instead. And this told us all exactly why they chose Pedro to portray this modern version of Reed Richards. As if this wasn't enough after all this drama, the test screenings took place sometime during the last week of May. And the reactions were exactly as we all expected. They were mid. All the fears and doubts people had were apparently brought into fruition by Marvel. The CGI was apparently pretty terrible, and people said it looked like it was miles away from being finished. I really can't believe Marvel is still pulling the same shit it did with Quantumania and Brave New World. But the bulk of the reports said the same thing, so I'm not really gonna doubt it. And hey, it seems like Pedro has gone and done his thing. Since gender bias is bad and men aren't really human, they've apparently turned Reed into the doormat instead, and it's Mary Sue Storm who's done all the heavy lifting. Yup, apparently all of it. The reports also said how it was painful to see how much of a backseat the rest of the team took to Mary Sue, and that pretty much everyone played second fiddle to the mighty invisible woman who's gonna save the world or go invisible trying. Now, these reports have been called quote-unquote misrepresented by some media outlets, but after recent experiences, I'm really inclined to believe that Marvel is still woke. What followed was exactly what was expected. Marvel went into panic mode and there were emergency reshoots and alterations to the final product, and after all of this, the final trailer dropped today. And to be perfectly honest with you, it looks much better. The trailer is a crisp 2 minutes 25 seconds and has done a far superior job than the entire 5-month PR campaign combined that came before. The VFX has been brought up at least to decent levels. The story isn't made obvious. Johnny Storm felt like himself even though it was just for a brief moment. The retro-futuristic theme seems more authentic, like far more authentic than it did in previous teasers and trailer drops. And it looks like they've tried to place much more emphasis on the role of the 3 male characters in the team and not make it a one-woman show. But unfortunately, the thing still looks like right up shit. But there are definitely significant improvements. And although it will be unwise to get our hopes sky high, cause remember, it's Marvel after all, I'm at least cautiously optimistic after the trailer. Only time will tell if it'll be the first steps towards a brighter future or the last steps towards an inevitable doom. That's it for today, people. I'm gonna go eat a chicken biryani.